we're doing the running backs and the wide receivers. So today is my special guest to do his top five as well. It's gonna be our guy Lennon, and he's from Titletown Sports, and also is a writer for the Cave Sports, covering the Kansas City Chiefs. What's going on, Lennon? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Just another day and chopping down this list of our top fives going into the 2021 NFL season. So we're very fast approaching for the NFL season. So let's start with our running backs, Lennon. So we're gonna go down our list of top five running backs. So Lennon, who is your top? Who is your fifth running back going to 2021?
I'm gonna say Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like he's gonna, with that offense, their offensive line lost a lot in the
Mhm.
last, this off season. So I just think that he won't be able to have as many gaps created for the run.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, so mine's surprisingly is going to be Saquon Barkley. I think just coming off the injury last year, I think he's poised to have a good season this year. Definitely with the offense, you just look at just the simple fact of he's going to be pretty much their focal point on offense. Obviously, getting Galladay helps, and then it also can help Daniel Jones tremendously as far as having that type of weapon back. And like I say, he's a complete back, power, speed, and burst. So I definitely think he's going to top this list. He's my fifth running back coming into it. So Lennon, who's your fourth running back?
I will say my fourth is actually Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
You know, I do agree with you. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the injury is going to hurt him a lot, but I feel like he's wanting to prove to himself and pretty much everyone else that he can still be the top three running back.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, number four is going to be Dalvin Cook. Surprisingly, I think I look at, even if the thing is, even though is he going to play 18 games this season? I doubt it. Even in 17 games this season, I doubt it very seriously, because even in previous years, he really hasn't had played every game during the regular season. Um, even though I think he's solid. He had over 1,500 yards this year, 16 touchdowns. Even and he played in 14 games. So just imagine if he would have played two extra games, or hell, in this case, if, coming into this season, if he plays three additional games, he could be teetering at the 2,000 yard mark. If if he plays the entire season. But even in that short sample, well, not even a short, but for the 14 games he played, I definitely think he warrants that my number four running back. Yep. So who you got for number three, Lenny?
This is honestly like it was going to be a toss up between it was going to be like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I was going to say him at first, but then I was like, no. So I think Alvin Kamara.
Okay.
I think this with Drew Brees retired, I don't think it's going to hurt, his run as much, but I think it's going to be a little bit, not I would say probably about like 1,200 yards,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. And actually, I agree with you. That's my third one as well. The beauty thing with him is you just look at this, the simple fact that his receptions, he had 83 receptions this year. He almost is wide receiver like production, as a running back. So that's another thing too, where you look at now just how the NFL is now, especially when it comes to the running backs. You have the hybrids, the ones who can give you the running back stats, give you great yardage and what have you. Then also contribute on the offensive end as far as the reception end as far as almost putting up. I mean, that's an amazing thing that he had 83 receptions, and I mean, like you said, and even now with Drew Brees out, it's he's going to be Jameis Winston's best friend in New Orleans, I think. So I think he's pretty much going to be right back at that pace. He it could be a potential. I mean, I'm not the hot take kind of guy, but he could potentially be on the pace of 100 receptions as as a running back potentially. Just the way how things are set up at this point, but I definitely see big things from him, Alvin Kamara. So yeah, that's my number 3. Lennon, who you guys number 2?
I got Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I just think, didn't he miss the rest of the season with, what was it, ankle injury, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, because he only played like 3 games last year.
Yeah. And I think he's kind of got it. From what I've seen, he looks like he's getting better, but it's pretty much how Cam was after the Super Bowl. Sorry about that. I didn't realize the camera was.
You good.
He probably just didn't realize, it's just in his head, Like, am I going to get injured again? And then week 1 comes around and boom, out for the rest of the season. I mean, it could happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely see, that potential with that, and like you said, and yeah, my number 2's got to be Christian McCaffrey. This is one of the ones where I kind of struggle between 1 and 2. Like I kind of can make a case for Christian McCaffrey at 1, but in all likelihood, I'm gonna keep him at 2 because the simple fact of the missing the 3 games. The production, I think, like you said, I kind of want to say, because the one of really factors I really was going, I really was considering him as number 1 at once upon a time. I had to go based on his 2019 stats, and I'm like, to me, what he did in 2019, and it did warrant his extension that he get from the Panthers last season. But like you said, I mean, he had over 2,400 yards, well, nearly 2,400 yards last season, 19 touchdowns in 2019. But yeah, I think if he's on that pace now, and then if he stays healthy, that's another thing with running backs. We have to err on the side of caution because we always say the biggest caveat is healthy, but we all know how running backs are in this league. Health is such a premium at that position, which you very rare that you're going to get, as far as health at that position. But yeah, I definitely think he'll if he's back to his 2019 pace, he'll definitely pay dividends for this Carolina Panthers team, and he'll definitely Sam Bradford definitely love it. Sam Donald, wow, one of mine like in a time machine, but Sam Donald. He'll definitely benefit from that. So, Lennon, who was your number 1? I think we all know who was the number 1. Who you guys number 1?
Derrick Henry.
Yeah. He's my number 1 too. He's another one where you can't ignore it. Like, to me, he's a 2,000-yard running back, which I don't care in what era that you do. I know, because now, like we talked about earlier, we talked about the other, how now not wide receivers, but running backs are now are receivers. They have a receiver-like production as far as, receptions and yards out of catch and everything, what have you. But I cannot ignore a running back that had 2,000 yards, like had pretty much on a historic season. So that's where you get that number 1 to me. Like, you look at as far as, we the running backs we talked about, dual threats in essence. But King Henry, he's a triple threat in more ways than one. He may not be the like the Alvin Kamara who can catch out the backfield per se, but the production that he does, and then also couple. He's a motor. He's a guy that just he tires out your defense. Like he's the one where it's just like he's just. I mean, it's you just can't ignore what Derrick Henry has done in this league and what he's continued to do. And I mean, he definitely warrants to be the number one running back entering the 2021 season. So let's talk a little wide receivers, Lennon. So who do you have as your number five receiver, Lennon?
I'm gonna say Julio Jones. I
Okay.
honestly think, with him in Tennessee, he's not going to be the number one receiver. I don't even think he's going to be the number two receiver because, Derrick Henry's going to be there. And sometimes he does give receptions.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
they are going to look for him or A.J. Brown. So I feel like he's not going to really get as much as he should because, honestly, I don't think he wants to be a number one wide receiver anymore.
Yeah. So my number five is gonna be Allen Robinson. I think Allen Robinson is interesting. He's one of those ones where I think when we look at um he's a dynamic wide receiver. He's one of those ones that could um he can outside, you put him in the slot. Yeah, he's very dynamic. He's definitely gonna be Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, best friend, potentially whoever's going to be the quarterback in Chicago. But I think he's definitely going to get the lion's share of receptions on this team. I definitely, and then even what he did last year was pretty impressive with with the quarterback play of that team. Last year, and it's probably maybe I don't think it's going to be as similar. I think it's going to be a point where I think Andy Dalton's going to be there for a few weeks, and I think Justin Fields is going to take over. I think that's when you'll kind of see the consistent play, and Allen Robinson definitely be a big part of. I think, in essence, Justin Fields' development in his rookie season.
I do agree.
Um, yeah. So,
But
Lenny,
what week do you? Oh, sorry about that.
yeah. So I'm thinking probably maybe about week 5 or 6 because I really haven't dissected their schedule yet. I'm not sure when their bye week is, but either if either it's gonna be after their bye week or probably week 5 or week 6. Because I still think this team. I think if this team falls to maybe like, because I'm thinking potentially if they fall to maybe like 2-4 or like 1-3, I think they'll pull the trigger because I think Chicago, in essence, is a playoff team, and it's just and I don't, I think if Andy Dalton struggles, that's when he'll come in. So I want to say probably I think if they're about regardless of the week per se, but I think if they're like 2 or 3 games under 500 at a certain point, I think they should pull the trigger because at least to kind of salvage the season. And like if Justin Fields isn't their guy going forward, hey, the beautiful thing about it, even though you sacrifice a first round pick in 2022, but hey, you can say you kind of want to say cut your losses, but you can kind of discover you can have another option at the quarterback in the draft. So I think and I think this team is a playoff team, so they definitely want to kind of test that water out with Justin Fields as quickly as possible. So let's see. We did our. So Lenny, who's your number 4 wide receiver?
My number 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Julio's teammate A.J. Brown.
Okay.
I feel like defenses are going to be, more. They're going to put their attention more towards Julio. A.J. Brown's going to get open. He's going to get more yards, more touchdowns. I think he's going to have a prominent year,
Yeah, absolutely. Matt's actually going to his teammate Julio Jones. Julio Jones is one of those guys, like he's one of the most dynamic wide receivers, at least in this generation. He's one of those guys where it's just like, and like you said, AJ Brown's definitely going to be a huge benefactor of it because who are you going to double team? So even if you double Julio, he gonna go up and get it. Like, so just imagine you might have a situation where if they double him, AJ Brown is on the island, which is frightening. So that's one thing too, where and then both of those two guys, even in single coverage, they'll destroy you. So just imagine just that dynamic where that dynamic is gonna keep defensive coordinators up at night because it's almost like you damn if you do if you double team, and you damn if you don't because what's gonna happen you're gonna leave one of them wide open, and then if you and they both can beat each other, or they both can win a one-on-one matchup, which is frightening. So for definitely defensive coordinators and even worse for DB coaches, they're going to be some sleepless nights on Saturdays getting ready for Sunday kickoffs for Tennessee Titans opponents. So it's going to be definitely an interesting one. Who you got for number 3?
I'm gonna have for number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Honestly, I was deciding between. I'm honestly going to say DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay.
I think with him in Arizona, I think he's finally getting used to playing in there. So I could see him pretty much having a 1,700-yard season in Arizona. Sorry, I almost said DeAndre for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. So my number 3 is gonna be Tyreek Hill. And what's frightening about him, and that's another thing when you look at how dynamic Kansas City's offense is, and you just look at just the simple fact of even he put up, almost 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns. But what's crazy about it, he only had 87 receptions. So you just think to yourself, God, just imagine if he would have had like Stephon Diggs numbers of catches, or if he had like D-Hop amount of catches, Devontae Adams type of catches. Like, I mean, he could be teetering on almost like a Calvin Johnson 2012 season, like a monstrous season, and just how efficient he is, and just the simple fact of with him, he could just take the top off the defense. The speedster, cheetah, he just got that unbelievable speed. And I mean, just the production alone, even with that, and just that offense alone, where you look at him, Travis Kelce, like they just have so many weapons, and they're all pros at their positions. And it's just like it's crazy to think, as far as how proficient the Kansas City offense is, and then even look at it's almost like a microcosm. Even Tyreek Hill stats is just a microcosm of how the offense is so balanced. Like normally, we don't really rarely see a guy who has 87 receptions have this type of production, yardage, and touchdown wise. Like when you think of what the interesting about him is, if you looked at his receiving yards and you looked at his touchdowns, and you didn't know how many receptions, you'd have been like, okay, maybe a $110, maybe a $120-ish, right in that neighborhood. And so, as far as his production, in that range, maybe I would say probably $105, $115, probably more so realistically. But what he's doing is just amazing, and I think he definitely warrants at number 3. So, who you got as number 2?
I actually can I just say something real quick? I got some news from Twitter whenever you were talking about Devontae Freeman signed with the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, Devontae Freeman. Okay, yeah. So that'll definitely help them out tremendously offensively wise. Yeah.
But will it hurt Alvin Kamara?
I don't know. That's the thing where I don't know. Not necessarily, because the good thing with Kamara can get you receiving as well. Like he's probably one of the best running back as far as that you get as far as from a receiving standpoint where he can receive the ball. So that's an interesting dynamic when you sit down and think about it, because that's another thing where you can kind of tee off defense as well. And you can put Kamara in certain slots in certain areas at receiver, potentially. that kind of helped, and it kind of he could, him or the or Freeman could be like a decoy. Like Freeman can also probably an ultimate decoy when you sit down and you think about it, where you're anticipating him in the running, him in the running back position, and you think, oh, they're gonna go for the run, they might go for a pass. So I think that just definitely helps. I think it might, in essence, probably in essence help Kamara even more. I think, in my personal opinion, I think and he probably, he'll be there to kind of give him a little, a break in the action or what have you. And even the thing with Kamara, as far as carry wise, I don't even think he's had seasons where he's had no more than 200 carries per season. So that's another thing too, where I think that definitely helps too. And like, I mean, he's been around guys like you look at in the past, like Ingram was there, once upon a time with them. So I think it more just enhances him. And I think it's just going to make him. You'll just see more of more of a weaponry with him offensively. So I definitely think it's probably gonna help more than hurt. I think, in my personal opinion. But yeah. So who was your number two?
My number two is going to be DK Metcalf.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, whenever I heard he got drafted by Seattle, I thought that was a really good decision by them because he kind of reminded me of, and I know this is going to sound kind of crazy, but he kind of reminds me of Megatron. In a way. But I think with Russell Wilson having hosted an MVP season and everyone's pretty much betting on him to win MVP again. Sorry. Let me rephrase that. I didn't mean to say that. He's supposed to win MVP. I do apologize.
Oh no, you good.
I think it'll help out DK.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, big time. Like you said, Russell Wilson. That's one thing he put that thing with him. And once he stays, he's consistent, but more so like as far as because he was definitely on the road to MVP. Going to about the midseason, and then kind of tailed off in his production as far as definitely the turnovers didn't help with him as well. So my number two. It's got to be DeAndre Hopkins. As you talked about earlier, and like you said, he's another guy where I think he definitely going to be because he had 1,400 receiving yards last season. He's definitely going to be huge for Arizona. I think Arizona is going to be one of the teams that that's probably going to take a leap. And I know the NFC West is just going to be slam packed, but I think Arizona's definitely going to I think Arizona's going to have a pretty solid season, and I think it's going to be on the backs of obviously. I think Kyler Murray could be a potential NFL MVP candidate, and I see some things with DeAndre Hopkins. And I think he's going to definitely, be paying big dividends for this team going forward. So, Lennon, who's your number one wide receiver?
My number one wide receiver is Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
I think with Patrick Mahomes he's getting better. Like he's pretty much not even hit his prime, but he's still he's getting better, and he's not even close to his prime yet. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But with Tyreek Hill there, he's pretty much one of the best wide receivers in the league. I think he would probably get 1,900 yards, maybe 20 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to be there. My number one is Devontae Adams. I think coming into this season, he's another one where just the production was through the roof. With him, he had 18 touchdowns last season, almost 1,400 yard season. I think he's another one where I think in Green Bay, I think this is the last dance, the NFL version of the last dance with this team. And you look at what Aaron Rodgers, he's definitely going to connect with Devontae Adams more so than anything because really, I mean, he has, and also with the addition of like Randall Cobb, definitely helps this Green Bay offense. But I think he's going to be a major key for this team, and I think Green Bay, like I said earlier, this is the last dance, and they're gonna put on a show for the fans in Green Bay, and I think he'll be one of those ones who will definitely um, he'll definitely stand on that. So, Lennon, any honorable mentions far as wide receiver wise?
Well, I will say the one I forgot to put on the list was Devontae Adams.
Mhm.
Because,
Yeah,
like you said, I think with Aaron Rodgers it being his last season in Green Bay, I think he's going to pretty much have one of his best seasons of his career. With it, he's fast enough to get past the defense, get wide open for 20, 25 yards easily. I just think he's pretty much overall one of the best wide receivers in the league.
yeah. So I have two. I know you mentioned earlier about AJ Brown. AJ Brown is another guy. I think he's like you said, he's another one like a Tyreek Hill who has definitely is ascending in this league as far as the production wise. And then I didn't want to ignore Stephon Diggs. If I had a 5A, 5B, Stephon Diggs would have hit that list. Because he's another guy. He led the league in receptions this year, and like once again, the success of Buffalo last season, and more so the quote unquote the legend of Josh Allen essentially was on the back of a guy like a Stephon Diggs last season. And you just look at him now, Josh Allen has that number one threat. He has that prime receiver. And, so I look at from that standpoint, I think he's going to, once again, going to kind of continue on that same track. And I think not Baltimore, but Buffalo is another team that's going to be trending up. I think Buffalo is emerging as a team that could potentially beat the Kansas City Chiefs, potentially. Or as far as representing the AFC in the Super Bowl potentially, but yeah, most definitely, I definitely think that's going to be on that list for us. But yeah, man, once again, thank you, Lennon, for coming on to this special edition of Couch Coach Live. So, tell us anything as far as any plug your social medias and also plug any project that you're going on as far as with Titletown Sports, and then also with the Sports Cave, the
Oh
Cave
yeah.
Sports, man, Cave Sports, my bad, Cave Sports.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Uh, yeah. It's Titletown Sports. It's on Facebook and Twitter, and then the Cave Sports. It's also on Facebook and Twitter. I think it's just at the Cave Sports and at Titletown Sports, if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken. And I I want to say I'm working on right now. I haven't. I've been trying to come up with my first article for Titletown. I'm kind of coming up with some ideas on what I want to do. I'm kind of thinking about doing like an all-time Patriots draft.
Okay.
You know, kind of like include like even if they only as long as they even played like one season for the Patriots, I feel like it would be okay to have them like, kind of like James Harrison. You
Yeah.
know, but and with the cave, right now I'm gonna work on maybe something about who they should look at getting in free agency or something like that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and as a Washington football fan, I'm definitely looking forward to us playing the Patriots in 2 weeks. So that's definitely gonna be a very interesting see a little Mac Jones, see a little Cam Newton here and there, and and see how our quarterbacks fare in that matchup against you guys on the 12th. Definitely looking forward to that.
I definitely
But
do look forward to it.
yes, indeed.
I kind of am hoping, even though Belichick announced today that Cam is the starting quarterback, even though Mac Jones,
Yeah.
even though apparently Mac Jones did way better than Cam in training camp.
Mm. So, yeah, that's definitely
Like,
gonna be. Yeah.
I mean, maybe he feels like he's not ready. I don't know. Belichick's up to something.
Oh yeah, no doubt, and it'll be a fun matchup to kind of crack the Da Vinci Code that is New England Patriots. So yeah, so that'll definitely be fun matchup on a Thursday night under the lights in Foxborough. Definitely looking forward to it, and yeah, man. So once again, appreciate you, Lennon, for coming on this week to give us your top 5 wide receivers and running backs, and man, another great show, and we'll catch you guys on the next Couch Coach Live.